So it was finally time, and I had to decide where I wanted to continue my academic and football career. After narrowing down my options, I picked up the phone to tell Coach Dimmel that I was coming to El Paso to be a UTEP minor. And as the first ever 5-star recruit to come to UTEP, I certainly had high expectations to live up to. But despite my arrival, our team was still predicted to come in last in the conference. I was excited to begin my football legacy. And despite everybody else's low expectations for us, I was ready to go out there and prove all the doubters wrong. And to do that, I was going to have to bring home our first conference championship in over 20 years. Thankfully, the way the schedule went, I was able to get at least 2 weeks of practice in before my first game. And in my very first career start, we were going up against our bitter rivals, New Mexico. And the game started off pretty slow. We weren't really able to get the ball moving on offense in the beginning of the game. But on the other side of things, New Mexico was able to move the ball pretty effectively and get the score, running the ball in with Miles Kendrick, giving them the 7-0 lead right before the end of the first quarter. But we were able to respond, marching the ball up the field, which eventually led to a Deion Hankins touchdown run. But unfortunately, that was pretty much all of our offense in this game. Our defense ended up floundering, and New Mexico took a commanding lead in the fourth quarter, and I simply wasn't able to make enough plays to keep us in the game. And with my career off to a shaky start, coach has said that he might have to reevaluate week to week, officially declaring there would be a quarterback controversy in El Paso. While I didn't feel like I deserved to be benched for my performance in the first game, next week's practice only made things worse. I gave up the ball multiple times, and my poor play forced coach to make a quarterback change for the next game against Coastal Carolina. It was tough watching from the sidelines, especially with the game being so close. With under a minute left, Greg Hardison tries to thread the needle in the end zone, but is picked off, and that'll do it, which results in us losing our second straight game to start the season. Things only got worse from there. The coaching staff met with me after the next practice to let me know that I probably wouldn't see much more action the rest of the season. The reason being, per NCAA rules, I could play up to 4 games in a season without losing a season of eligibility. While I was super frustrated with the coaching staff's decision, I prepared to strap in for a long season. The following weeks went pretty well, with us taking down UTSA and then grinding out a defensive battle versus Colorado State. And just like that from the sidelines, we were on a 2-game win streak. Our first conference loss was to Louisiana Tech, who absolutely dominated us, putting up 42 points in the first half. And just when we had thought we had enough heartbreak, Tulsa comes into the Sun Bowl and makes an epic comeback thanks to Braylon Braxton, getting them into the end zone right before the end of the game. And just like that, we were sitting at 2-4 on the season, and definitely not where I expected to be in my college career right now. By the time week 10 rolled around, I was a machine in practice, throwing dots all over the field, just waiting for my number to be called, and it felt like it would never come. And after snapping our losing streak beating Rice, our very next practice, starting quarterback Greg Hardison injured his thumb and would be out for at least 2 weeks. And just like that, I was ready to make my second career start against none other number 14 Texas A&M. While I was nervous, I was just excited about an opportunity to prove myself again. And I think I did exactly that in the beginning of the game. On our first offensive drive, I found Ronaldo Flores in the back of the end zone for a 12-yard touchdown, giving us the surprising 7-0 lead. But A&M quickly responded, and on our next offensive possession, we were able to get a field goal in. With our defense playing great and getting us good field position, on offense we were able to capitalize, and I was able to toss it over to Trent Thompson to extend our lead to 17-7 before the half. Once we were in the second half, it still felt like an equal battle, but something had to give. And near the end of the third quarter, I lofted a beautiful pass to Ronaldo Flores to extend our lead even further. But A&M wasn't ready to give up. They immediately responded, trying to claw their way back into the game. And after it was all said and done, we had pulled off the unthinkable, going into Allen Fieldhouse and pulling off the upset. And against all odds, I had been named player of the game. With a performance like that, I'm sure to land some NIL deals. Heck, I bet I made Jimbo Fisher wish he had recruited me a little bit harder now. So now I only had 2 games left to add on to my resume in case I wanted to enter into the transfer portal at the end of the year. Up next was the North Texas Mean Green, and despite their record, their defense was not very nice to us. With the game still close, I took a shot downfield, but unfortunately we couldn't convert it. Now coach gave us a heck of a halftime speech, and I was eventually able to loft a beautiful pass over to Justine Clark, tying up the game. But on our next offensive possession, I messed up big time, getting intercepted by Samuel Faulkner for the pick 6, putting North Texas back on top. After breaking an iPad on the sidelines to clear my head, I was able to throw a bomb to Justine Clark to tie up the game. But with not much time left in the fourth quarter and North Texas back on top, I was able to roll to my right to find Ronaldo Flores to tie up the game. Subsequently, this led us to overtime, where North Texas jumped out on top, and when it came down to it, I wasn't able to show up when needed most, tossing it up to my receiver to make a play, which cost us the game. While I was certainly disappointed we didn't come out with the win, I was still proud of my team. With Hardison back from the IR, I was back to the bench, as coach told me I was only going to see the field one more time this season. In our next game, we had James Madison University for our senior night. Both sides put up a good fight, but thankfully we were able to come out with the victory, putting us at 5-5 on the season. While I was continuing practicing week to week, our next challenge was up against Tulane, and thankfully we played well enough to come out with a 36-26 win, giving us 6 wins on the season, guaranteeing us a bowl bid. But before that, we had to go up against Middle Tennessee State University, and to be honest, they stood no chance against our defense, which in turn gave us our 7th win on the season. We had certainly exceeded expectations by losing the tiebreaker, but since we weren't playing for the conference championship, it was time to put our focus towards our bowl game against the UCF Knights. And with our starting quarterback listed as questionable, coach went ahead and gave me the nod for the start. So it had all led to this. And UCF wasn't playing around. They jumped out to a 7-0 lead. And soon after, I tried to make a play, but got the wind knocked out of me. And when I got back in, we were down another tutty. But thanks to my legs and Jake McNamara, we were finally able to get some points on the board. And once we got the ball back, I made the play of the season, faking the handoff and running it right up the middle for 75 yards and the score. It really felt like we had control over this game, moving the ball effectively down the field. And then eventually I was able to find Trent Thompson, where he's able to make a nice play to get into the end zone. And with the pressure on, UCF is able to convert and get into the end zone to tie the game with under 2 minutes left, putting the pressure on us. But then, what felt like a game-winning drive turned into a game-losing nightmare. While trying to make a play, I didn't protect the ball, and I got stripped by linebacker Jesse Holler, where he then takes the ball all the way back, 80 yards for the touchdown. I couldn't believe it. I completely let my team down, and despite having one of my best games yet, I wasn't able to pull out the win. And with that, we finished the season at 7-6. And personally, for me, I put up fairly decent numbers and was getting some interest in regards transferring. Before the season was over, Donovan Edwards, the senior from Michigan, claimed the Heisman, and Iowa State shocked the world, finishing the season 14-0, beating Cincinnati and Alabama to win the college football playoffs. While I was certainly disappointed with how my freshman season had gone, I can admit I definitely learned a lot. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next, so I need your help. Let me know down in the comments. Should I transfer? If so, where to? Let me know down below as we head into my sophomore season.